Here in front of me, I've got two panels that were destined to go into landfill, and I wanted to try and save them. So in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how I managed to fix these panels and get them up and running again. As soon as I installed them and then I put them into my charge controller, I noticed I wasn't getting any power, which is kind of strange. But the voltage was still good on a multimeter, but as soon as I plugged them in, the voltage dropped immediately. So after a bit of research a couple of years ago, I discovered a video online. I'll leave a link down below. Essentially, that video explains that you've got resistance somewhere in the system. So I didn't know how to really verify that, so I just put them in the shed and then I didn't really look at them for a while. But about a month ago, I decided to have another look at these panels and see if I could actually get them up and running again. All I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to document the process of how I get this one up and running. I'm going to use that one as my benchmark, if you will, because that one's functional, but this one isn't. Now, when I look at the cells, they look immaculate. There's nothing wrong with the actual cells themselves. They look really in good condition. So I was very perplexed as to what was going on. Obviously, I've got resistance somewhere in the system. So I had a look at the junction box and I discovered that there was a bad connection there. Hopefully this will be useful to somebody else who has a similar situation. Maybe you've got some panels that have gone defective and you don't really know why. Well, you can use a couple of these different troubleshooting techniques to see if you can figure out what's going on with yours as well. And these panels were basically for free, which is amazing. Maybe you can find a set of free panels and do the same thing, who knows? I'm personally going to be using just standard household items that you can find. I'm going to be using a soldering iron, might be using a hot glue gun if necessary, and you will need a multimeter or an amp clamp meter at least, something like that so that you can read what's going on with the panel. But I can say that this modification allowed me to get the power running again without needing to buy a new junction box, without needing to buy new panels. Let's go round the back. I've got a power station. We're going to plug them in, see what numbers we get. So I've got my amp clamp meter here. This is the defective panel. I have to be a bit careful with arcing at the moment. This one's got a different problem. Interesting. So we're only getting 13 volts. Okay, that's a different problem. The other one was getting 30 volts. Okay, so let's see what reading I get here. Yeah, you see I get full 32 volts. So this one's functional. So you can see we're getting 158 watts, but that proves to you that we're getting power again. So that's not a problem. And if we try to plug in the other panel, we're going to see that we don't get any power out of it, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so now that's plugged into the other panel. And the junction box for that panel is right over here. As you can see, I have plugged it in and we are getting no power coming into the unit. So this panel still has a problem. So we need to open up the junction box, not in full sun. So this here is my junction box, as you can see on the other panel that I've fixed so far. And you can see that we've got the diodes here. So those diodes basically help against shading. And then we've got the bus bar tabs that come here. And then there's a kind of a mangled one over there. In this area here, there was a bad connection going on there. And I managed to solder and fix it. And then I put some hot glue around it just to kind of like keep everything in place. The other side. There we go. Okay. Again, with the other one, I had to remove all of it. So I'm going to have to do the same thing here. Your junction box might not have silicon in it. Like I have another set of panels that doesn't have any of this problem. This is one which is a 200 watt panel. When we look at the junction box here, look how much easier that is to service. You got the bus bars here that connect up to the cells on the other side. You've got all the little diodes here that you can pop out and replace. Like honestly, if you have this type, you're in much better luck than I am. The other one is a really not very service-friendly design. Very carefully, like, remove this stupid silicone out of it. This is all the silicone that was in there. Just ridiculous. So I've covered the panel with two curtains. They're like blackout curtains for both sides. What I'm doing to the panel is I want to do a test with the multimeter here. I want to test running a diode test on it. I'm going to demonstrate firstly that you want to check if your panel has any voltage going through it. If it has any voltage, you will get a false reading. So at the moment I'm getting 0.67. So that's pretty good. That means it's pretty much getting no voltage on the panel right now. So the diode function is this. It's this little symbol here. Okay, and you want to see a 1 or OL here. Okay, you can see we're getting a 1 and I'm checking the diodes. We're getting a 1 there. That's a good thing. And then here we're also getting a 1. Okay, now what we're going to do is reverse the probes, and we're getting 125, as you can see there. Go down here, we're getting 125, and we're getting 129 there. So what that tells us is that the valves, let's say, which control the electricity in the diodes, they're one-way valves, they are in good health. I've got the panel back in full sun, as you can see there, and we're going to perform a short circuit test so we can find out where the hotspots are. Okay, so we are now around the back of the panel, and I'm going to go and show you the sticker on the back to show you the specification, because I hadn't done that before yet. The panel is from a company called Solar World. It rates itself as a 250 watt panel. So I take my thermometer gun here. You can't read that very well on screen, but we're at around 41 right now. I've plugged the MC4 into each other. This is a short circuit here. So you don't want to leave this for so long. It's going to produce quite an amount of heat. My 10 minutes is almost up. So I've been running this test for about 9 minutes or so, 8.5 minutes. Normally what you do is you'd basically run the thermometer gun along each cell, and you just try and find out which ones are overheating or which area is overheating. Now, this one, as you can tell, there's no point in running it through the cells, really. That tab there, 54. And again, I check these lower ones here, these tabs. I get 53, and that side, 47. Oh, that diode's got 100. That's not good. Interesting. And that one's got 80. So after going through some of the footage, I thought it would be better to show you an actual diagram or a sort of cheat sheet as to what was going on. Now, I don't actually have a thermal camera, but the thermal gun definitely gives me a rough idea of what could be going on with the junction box. Now, on the left side of the image, you can see that that's the first panel that I fixed. I was getting quite a strong hotspot of around 115 degrees Celsius. The reason I was getting that is because I left the panel in the sun for about 15 minutes. But the other side was, I think, around 55 to 60 degrees Celsius. Now, on the right side is the other panel that we're currently working on in this video. This one had a different hotspot, which I thought was kind of interesting. So this can kind of actually show you that you can have two different scenarios, or different scenarios in general. The negative connection also had a bad connection there as well, but it was so bad that it wasn't even making any contact, so no electricity was actually really passing through except a little bit of voltage. So that area was really cool when I did my test. It was almost the same temperature as the front of the panel, so it was barely any difference. But the diode was getting really hot. Through the troubleshooting that we did, we already double-checked that the diodes are actually in good health. Hopefully this demonstrates that you can actually have two different scenarios. I noticed there was some charring on the back of this. This was the coolest area that we tested. So I kind of wondered that maybe the connection was so bad here that nothing was going through. For now, I'm going to try and solder this part down. My theory is to just lift this, get a much better contact on it. I can't move fast enough. That's better. Better. Yes. You can see on this one, I fixed it like this. So I had to solder this part down to make it more secure. I used hot glue to kind of hold the connection, but I figured out a better way to do it. And this one, I figured out a better way to connect it to the bus bar tab. Okay, so I'm going to hold it in like that. So you can see I'm getting 32 volts. It's practically functional again. So it is the following morning, and we've got both panels here. Both of them have fixed connections. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison to see if we get the same numbers. So this is the amount of wattage we're getting. We're getting 189 at the moment. It's just hovering between 186 and 187. Right now we are measuring the other panel. Let's see how much we get there. Should be nearly identical. Doesn't have to be exactly the same. Yeah, we're getting about 182. So I would call that a resounding success. I've got both of these panels functional again, which is great. They seem to be operating in roughly the same wattages and the same power output, so that's a good sign. Voltages were pretty much identical. I can hook these up into parallel or series if I wanted to, and I can find another project to use these for. Instead of these ending up in landfill and going into the trash, I've actually recuperated both of these panels. Hopefully this can give you some ideas on how you can also try to fix some defective solar panels if you find them either free or secondhand or something like that. I will try to see if I can make the junction box somewhat water resistant again. Hopefully that gives some insight on how you can also repair your own panels if you're dealing with some troubleshooting or something that's going on with them. If you have a different situation that you're dealing with your solar panels, you can leave a comment down below and we can try to talk it through. Also, put ideas on the community page. There is a community page on the One Good Road. I've got some other videos coming out soon, some other different reviews, so definitely stay subscribed and stuff like that and keep an eye out for some new videos. Anyway, that's it. Leave a like, and I hope to see you in another video.